You'll know why you guys were the band on stage when that happened.
Yeah.
I'll know why
Yeah.
I had to have the alcoholic gene, why I had to lose a child,
Yeah.
whatever the things are that I don't want to be self-pity guy. You're so far not self-pity guy.
Yeah.
You probably beat yourself up a little bit.
Yeah, it's probably,
more than you need
yeah. I mean, look what you're doing here. Like, you're helping me more than you probably know.
to. Good.
You're helping my family because I'm talking about it instead of holding on to things because I don't want to appear weak. You know, getting that text from you. It's funny because I thought maybe you would have texted about. I knew this was coming. I'll say that.
It was kind of coming.
I knew this was coming. I knew this was coming. That's the best way I can say it. Like I remember I told my wife, I'm like, I hope he's not afraid to ask me. I was never going to text you and say, hey, I'm not like that. I'm not going to. But
I didn't want you to say yes just because it was me. I wanted you to be ready.
No,
So
it's because it was you.
There was no getting ready.
Welcome to the Good Grief, Good God Show, hosted by Grammy nominee and Emmy award-winning hit songwriter Brad Warren of the Warren Brothers. Join Brad monthly on the first, third, and fifth Tuesdays in audio or on YouTube for raw, honest conversation about surviving things that suck. For today's episode, Brad sits down with hit songwriter, producer, and Jason Aldean's bass player of 26 years, Tully Kennedy. Tully is a 3-time ACM nominee for Bass Player of the Year and recently received his first CMA Triple Play Award for Aldean songs that he wrote, reaching number 1 in a 12-month span. However, October 1st, 2017 marked a pivotal moment in Tully's life. While performing with Aldean in Las Vegas, a gunman unleashed chaos upon the crowd from a nearby hotel room. For the first time, Tully visits about his nightmare experience, its aftermath, and the bullet that remains lodged in his bass guitar. Additionally, Tully and Brad will visit about a hit song that Tully co-wrote, Try That in a Small Town. I'm producer Matt Pt2. To learn more about today's guest, Brad, and the show, check the description where you'll find clickable links to access this episode's audio and video links, to connect to the show on social media, and to visit goodgriefgoodgodshow.com. There on the website, you'll be able to access the most up-to-date show information and the back catalog of episodes, plus more. Lastly, we value your feedback, so please hit that like and subscribe button. Leave us a comment or review. On the behalf of Brad's wife and executive producer, Michelle Warren, and segment producer and guest booker, Lisa Bolt, thank you for tuning in. The Good Grief, Good God Show is brought to you in loving memory of Sage Michael Warren.
I don't know if this was, should save it for further in the story, but you have a bass with a bullet in it.
So to go back when I thought my arm hadn't know what I got hit with. So, you know, had a little bit of a moment, like a memory lapse. When I was hiding, I had my bass on me and I don't remember taking it off. And I just knew my arm was, I got hit with something or whatever. A couple weeks go by. Now I have no idea where this bass is.
Are you kidding?
No, I don't remember taking it off. I don't know where it is. A couple weeks go by and they're like, hey, because, you know, there was a bunch of stuff that was left in Vegas that the FBI had. They flew all that stuff back finally. And I got a call saying, hey, you need to come out to sound check and get your stuff, storage facility. And I got out there and there was a bunch of people there. And so I got hit with a bullet fragment is what had happened. I had no, until that moment, I didn't know that. I had no idea until I saw the bass and the FBI had taken the bullet out. And that's what I got hit with. It was FBI said that the bullet had probably bounced off a rafter and came down. What's crazy about this, and not crazy for me because it's of my faith, but I know for a fact that an angel had moved me around that stage, because I remember when I was walking back off of that stage, for some reason I turned a certain way. And right when I turned, that bullet came down, hit the body of the bass, and I was turned out at such an angle that the bullet, instead of going through the bass into my gut, traveled down the body of the bass and they had to reach in with a thing, get the bullet out. And the FBI told me, like, if I had been turned this way, then it just goes right into my gut and my artery and who knows what happens. But that's, you know, for me, like there's no doubt angels moving me around that stage, and all of us for that matter.
I don't really believe in coincidence a whole lot anymore. I just don't. Yeah. I mean, it's just, it would be crazier to me to think that just happened to hit your base and not your stomach than it would be to think that there was a divine plan for it. That's kind of where I am versus where I was before.
That's where I,
I mean, you could explain away anything if you want to.
But I don't remember, you know, what's crazy about this, I don't even remember taking that bass off. It just showed up. And they don't know where it was, where they could have been laying right there. Who knows? It's like one of those things where it just kind of that time doesn't exist in my memory. So like for whatever reason, I don't remember taking that off. I don't remember. There's like a few seconds there, a minute or whatever of just.
It's very possible that those movements were involuntary.
Well, I mean, they obviously, for me, that's very clearly the situation. It's like I know we were meant to be up there that night, and I know it's hard for people to hear that, you know, but that's
not me, but I get it. I would have 5 years ago, I would have thought you were crazy for saying that. And now I don't think I feel exactly the same way.
And I don't talk about this ever because, you know, it's I find it easier, when you reached out to do this, probably a reason he sent you to me as well. Because I think I need to talk about it. Because I think that it comes up more often than I like in my personality probably these days. So it affects those around me. By the way, I'm, you know, not talking about it.
Yeah.
It kind of comes up in involuntary personality traits.
Right. Your wife probably knows you're not talking about it more than anyone, or you know, whatever it might be. I'm just
and, you know, so
there's healing in running straight at something, and you're emotionally strong and tough and those things, and those are good, but then at some point part of the healing is just like breaking, you know.
Well, that's the thing. I was
breaking down in front of it, you know.
Yeah, I wanted to be strong for my kids, strong for my family, strong for my mom, my parents, you know, people that, because I didn't die. None of us died. We came out of it. I ache more for the people that didn't get to leave that night. You know, that's my, I feel selfish letting myself hurt about it. Because I'm here, and all my brothers are here, and we didn't lose any crew guys. That none of us got killed. I feel selfish letting myself.
Survivor's guilt.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. I just don't like feeling like I'm wounded by it when they actually are wounded by it.
Who am I to feel wounded by not dying when this person lost their sons, or their brothers.
I mean,
and I'll say this as a person that, like, you know, it's tempting occasionally to fall into the you know, the comparison of grief, you know, and you can't do that. Like it's not fair to everyone, because everyone's worst thing is their worst thing. So that's why their barometer based on everything is like, oh, this was my ground zero for worst shit that can happen. And I have to learn to have grace for like everyone's worst thing. But you can't minimize that because somebody else had it worse, because it is I say you can't. I don't mean, I'm just saying it's like it'll be there. This is gonna be with you. Like I don't even want to stop missing my son. I don't want. It would feel disloyal for me to ever get over it. I don't want to get over it.
You know, for a long time after you and your wife and your family went through this tragedy, knowing you for so long, I didn't know how to say. I remember going to the service and seeing you guys there and thinking to myself, just hurting for you guys, you know. And then sitting with you today, it's like God works in an amazing way. It's like going through your tragedy and what you've done and what you're doing is helping me. You know what I mean? Because it's like I would never be talking about this, which is so, this is so overdue for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I got to say too, man, when you and Kirk walked into my son's funeral, man, it was just, I don't know why, whatever, a lot of people there, but it was, it just hit me like, damn, man, that's awesome that they showed up. I don't know why that's,
well, it goes back to that thing of like, always be brothers, no matter how much time we go without spending together, or, all the success you can have business wise and music wise is great. But, at the end of the day, that's the ultimate success, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
People that you care about, that you love, that you will have your back. And that's what gets lost in what we do. Everybody's pushing for the ultimate goal, and you realize that ultimate goal, that really isn't the ultimate goal.
No.
And you kind of find yourself missing the mark.
Yeah.
So, but that's.
I'll say this: when this happened, and I mean, I'll use you as an example, but like you just checked on me periodically for the next year, and it never was lost on me. It was never lost on me. But you, when this happened, I swear to God, it was like I died, and I got to see everyone how they would be there for my family if I weren't here. I felt like I was 40,000 feet in the air watching my death, and watching. I'm like, holy cow, man! How fortunate are we? How blessed are we?
It's God. It's
how many people? And I said, that's God. Like there's a friend of ours. It's just a simple story about him coming. I woke up like 3 days after, and I'm in a haze, and our house is full of people, and McGraw, for all the sweet bully he is, he and Faith were the first people here besides my brother.
No, yeah.
And they lived here for weeks. Just this kindest, sweetest person on the inside that you could ever. But a friend of mine, he just came to one morning, and the sun was just coming up, and I was trudging around the house making coffee, and I look out, and he's filling this huge cooler with ice and drinks, and he just got his truck and left. Like there was no credit in that, not even emotional credit from like he just filled this humongous cooler with ice and drinks, and I was like, as simple and pedestrian as that seems, I was like, that's God.
Oh yeah,
that's God. I've never seen that in church. I got no problem with church. Maybe I do, but I've never seen that level. There was no one watching, and I just got to experience kindness from so many people, and in such a real way. And then there's a very, very few people that just kind of disappeared because they didn't know what to say. I'm like, man, I hope I've never been that guy before. Because I don't know that what we've both been through, shit, I'll say it for sure. I'm a better human being because of what I've been through. Because before it might be like, oh, I don't want to do that. It's not cool. I don't give a shit. I don't care if it's cool anymore. If it can, like, I got these guys that have lost kids that I meet with. Dude, you think we have a great locker room as Nashville musicians, songwriters, whatever. It's kind of funny because we're competing one day and then we're on the same team the next day. It's a very strange thing, but we have a great locker room of people. And then in recovery, I have a great locker room of guys. Just, I love alcoholics. They're my favorite people. They're just so full of crap, and they survived it. They go through. And I got a great locker room. But now, getting to see these dads and how awesome it is to be with these other guys, and they're like, holy cow, I've never been in a room with 15 guys that know exactly what you're feeling. Goes back to you guys with the band and knowing what you are. I mean, we are fortunate, and I do believe that God kind of handed me part of this to say, this is part of your journry. You're going to see your kid again. This is your call.
There's no doubt that's how that works. And I've tried to pull these threads of the Vegas thing and for a positive thing. I've tried to rationalize some stuff. And one of the things that I pulled from it was like, made me realize, like, when people go through a tragedy, whatever that may be, traumatic life experience, what happens is, when something happens, a tragedy, people rally around people, but then people they can get back to their lives, and the people that have gone through the tragedy are still holding the bag. The bag never really get to set that down. and I realized that I was guilty of that years ago. Like
Well, you don't know what you don't know until you
right. So
know it. Yeah.
but I've learned to that never for the people that it's happened to, it's always there. See, that's part of being a true friend to me, is like always be there, always, because it's true. It's like, unfortunately, we learn every day that nothing's for certain. You know, one of the most random things, this is very strange. On the way home from Vegas, we finally got on the jet. It was the night, you know, even after I'm jumping back now to Vegas, but like even after the shooting ended and we heard he was killed, SWAT team, you know, the
Where
only
are
way,
you at this point?
you know, our tour manager had gotten us on the bus. We were laying on the bus. We heard that the shooter was neutralized, they had said, and still weren't sure if there's any. Was hearing rumors, okay, there's another shooting in this casino. We're like, what is going on, you know? And so the only way for the SWAT team to get us out was they had the lights on. The whole venue's lit up now. It's all lit. And the only way to get us out was in front of the stage. So the SWAT team let us out in front of the stage, and you know, I remember the SWAT team guy saying, and to be fair, they weren't prepared either. You can't be like it. They did the best they could.
They weren't prepared mentally, or they just weren't prepared for a mass shooting, because no one ever walks around prepared for a mass shooting.
Especially in Las Vegas, you're not prepared for it. And so they walked us out in front of the stage. We had to walk in front of the stage, and so you see the gravity in things that you can't unsee, but you see the gravity of what happened, and it's just trying to process. The night just kept going on and on. They hit us in some little building down the street until a pickup truck came and picked us up. Some random pickup truck. We got in the back of it. They brought us somewhere.
Yeah, like in the bed of the pickup truck.
Yeah, fucking crazy. Yeah, you know.
And who was driving the pickup?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. At that point, they were just getting us out of that area. And
where is Jason with you guys?
Jason, I don't want to misspeak. To my knowledge, Jason and his security guard at that time, Jason goes, "I'm not leaving my fucking bus," and that was the right move. We got moved off our bus. I have nothing but respect for first responders. Nothing but respect. It's a job that, you know, they did the best they could. They at that point they insisted that we leave the bus, and I think that's what they were ordered to do, and that's what they thought was best at the time. In reality, you know, they'd probably say that we should have stayed there as well.
But if the guy was going to shoot an RPG at the bus and blow it up, then that would have been the wrong call.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, nobody knew at that point exactly what's happening. So yeah, we ended up some little office space building somewhere down the street, and still didn't know where Rich was, you know. And all of our, you know, we were literally, after that show, we were going from the stage to an SUV to the jet. So all of our bags were in the production office. And
like your phone, you got your phone?
I didn't have my phone.
You didn't have your phone.
Kurt was the only one who had his phone, thank God, because he was able to text the wives and
I was going to say, thank God.
They're hearing stuff, and I don't have my phone. It's in the production office in my backpack. You know, wow. Really quick story. We ended up at the I can't remember what the hotel was. MGM, a nice private sector of the MGM. It really. They brought us over there. That's where we're going to stay the night. It's a big suites, essentially. And there's a pool in there. And I remember falling asleep in this library part of this building we're in. It's an incredible building. We'll get to sleep like at 4 a.m. or something. And I woke up and I hear this splash, you know. I'm like, what's happening? First of all, it's all very fuzzy and blurry, right?
Did this really happen?
This is so funny. So I wake up, hear a splash. I walk out to this pool, and it's one of those pools that it's just like flat, right? There's no edge to the pool.
Yeah.
Poor Kurt had walked right into it with his phone. The only guy had the phone with his phone. And apparently they saw him, and he was just walking in the pool. No idea where he was. No idea. That's how we were. It was like, what is going on?
That's not the least bit surprising. Yeah.
No, and it's something that we still to this day we talk about, and gives us a little bit of a chuckle. You know, thinking, you just hearing the splash, and then there's Kurt just kind of walking around the pool.
Did his phone make it?
I don't think so. No. But what I was gonna say, I think, was when we finally got on the jet to go home. We're in the air, and I'm sitting right across from Jason, like I am right now, and you're Jason. Jason looks up. I think he had his phone. He looks up. And he goes, "Tom Petty just died."
That's right. That was like the same.
It was right in the air on the way home, and I remember thinking to myself, "Wow, what a little another." How? What? Wow. Now, like, it's just weird, right? It was this really strange thing, in thinking, wow, that's really weird. Like, and I thought, oh, those 59 people need him up there in those songs.
Yeah,
that's the first. Wow. That is the first thing I thought of. It's like, he's needed up there, and I know that people will. Whatever, they can say what they want, but that's how I took that. That's in that moment. That's what I thought of. I thought, who better to like
entertain the troops. You know, when Eddie Van Halen died, I said, "Oh man, Sage is going to get to meet Eddie Van Halen before I am." I was just like, it is. You know, they say don't meet your heroes. So I'm kind of glad I never met Eddie Van Halen, and we wrote with a couple guys in the Heartbreakers, but I never met Tom Petty either. And I'm kind of glad because they have a bad day. And
well, you hear like we're friends with Stan, and you hear all that, but I just did. Speaking of Toby came out and hung out with us in Oklahoma City last month.
Really?
He got up and did a song with us.
How's he doing?
He's Toby. He's playing some shows in Vegas coming up, but he told some great Eddie Van Halen stories.
Really?
Great Eddie Van Halen stories.
Really?
Yeah, because he's tight with Sammy.
That's right. They are.
But anyway, yeah, it was just that was a interesting.
When this is done, like it's over. Like what? Like what do you do? What do you do with this? Now even, but not like right then, the next year, what do you do with this? You wake up, you go, man, that happened, I was there, and you just kind of move on with it?
For me, and this is probably not the healthiest thing, all of us, I think that very similar, I found like my mind, like I said earlier, put this someplace. Like it put it somewhere, and I was like, okay, full steam ahead. Got stuff to do. We got to move on. Can't dwell on this. That's what I'm telling myself, obviously. But like I said, I saw changes in myself, and at first it was really weird when I mentioned that Jason called to do Saturday Night Live, and we flew up there, and I'd never had any kind of anxiety in my life, really, like an anxiety attack or what. I always thought that was bullshit. Mm-hmm. Personally, mm-hmm. I always thought stress and anxiety, that's just something that they say. That's a choice.
Yeah.
I really did. That's some part of the naive part of being younger, and Anyway, we get up there, and Friday night we have rehearsal at Saturday Night Live, and I'm back there. I'm backstage and hanging out. I'm thinking, oh, this is really cool. I wish it was under different circumstances, but cool. Being up here and then all of a sudden I couldn't breathe. All of a sudden I couldn't, and no one even knows the story. I think only Kurt and my wife know that it's even happened. I remember telling Kurt, I need you to call my wife, or can't remember if I called her. I said, I can't breathe. And my heart felt like it was going to like come out of its chest. No drugs involved.
Yeah.
This time.
Yeah. For actually natural reasons.
This is actually happening. I don't think I've
had that experience before too, but I needed to take some NyQuil, lie down for a while. Right.
No, it lasted forever, and I have been riddled with anxiety since that, and no one even knows that till right now. I mean, I'm just, talking to you is very, very natural. So it I don't mind saying it, but it's affecting me in ways that I didn't think it would.
Yeah.
And like I said, the way I've always been like, not short fuse. I've always had a little bit of a temper. I get that from my grandpa, I guess, but like, it's like ultra short. And I want to be alone a lot. And I look back on that experience in Vegas, and, maybe the way that I've locked that up isn't the healthiest way.
Yeah.
But it's the only way that I know how to do it when so I can continue.
Yeah.
Because me dwelling on it, like my personality, that's not healthy for me to like dwell.
Yeah.
At least I think it isn't.
I think dwelling, you're right, is bad on everything. Like dwelling. Like I have a moment of pain. It's a true story. Last night I'm watching football, and there's 2 kids on the Minnesota Vikings that Sage played football with. One of them he played against.
Yeah.
Ty Chandler, he tackled Ty Chandler.
Oh, wow.
He's good. Yeah. And then the other was this kid, Juwan Williams, who played on his team. He was a senior when Sage was a sophomore, and that's some funny stories about them. And this kid, Juwan, he just got pulled up from a practice squad last night. So this is a little bit more of there's a story what Sage said he was a sophomore, and this guy was a senior, by the way. This is total sideline story. But he said Juwan would be like, hey, Sage, man, they're just running the ball. Let's take it easy. He would be covering Sage. Sage's on the scout team as a receiver. And he said, let's just take it easy, man. They're running the ball. And he'd say, yeah, cool. And then he'd go back and tell the quarterback, hey, Juwan's not going to cover me. Or hit me on a post. And he would go burn him for a touchdown in practice. He'd get in trouble.
It's amazing.
Which is great. And then
story,
he became the number 1 receiver the next year because he burned.
Yeah.
But I had a little moment. Like it's like,
of course.
All these, it's
you're always going to have those moments. Like,
I was so happy for him, for this kid. And I was so sad about Sage. I wanted to pull it up because I wanted to see I'd pull up Sage's highlight reel and I was watching it. I just did it to myself. I don't do that. So that's the first time I put his little highlight reel on in 2 years. So I don't dwell on it.
Yeah.
But there is something about like functioning while addressing it, or like walking into someone told me walk into the darkness instead of chasing the sunset. You walk into the darkness, you find the sunrise. I'm a better person because of the tragedy. I assume that you are too in some ways.
Yeah.
I can also I don't get sad very well, but I get angry pretty well.
That's my thing. Like and unfortunately that my worst moments always seem to come out on the ones closest to me.
Of course.
But
I think for guys like us, it might be smart, it might be healthy to go ahead and be sad sometimes.
Yeah.
Not all the time, not dwell, but it's probably good for us to just go ahead and be sad, because then it probably takes me snapping at someone that I'm close to that I have no reason. Yeah.
Yeah. And I always, like I said, some of that for me, just, I don't like letting myself be sad about it because I was so lucky. I got moved around. That bullet could have easily, the FBI told me, like, if that goes through the base the other way, then you're probably not, especially the way it was, where if I got hit then, I'd just probably bleed out right there, because there's no first responders right there. Lord looked out for me there.
But if you hadn't made it, you'd be okay too. So this is also that. Like, your kids and your wife would be upset. Your friends would be upset. They would miss you, but you would be okay. So you didn't win the lottery by getting this happen to you. You know what I mean? I'm so lucky. You're lucky would have been maybe I I wasn't on that show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's a. By the way, I think it's good. I would rather opt for that than to be. Woe is me. Why does everything happen to me? First of all, you're funny. So funny guys, I know what we do. We joke, and we joke curtly when we're upset. I've seen you when you're moderately pissed, and it's always something funny, and we wind up laughing our butt, like Brett knocking the pick, or laughing at the steel player who's mad because you did the show. I always use humor to deflect whatever's there, and that's fine. And then until humor doesn't totally work,
right? Yeah,
and then you get pissed,
yeah,
or short,
yeah. No, I mean, it's been quite a. I don't ever talk about it, and for numerous reasons. Ever. I never talk about it.
It's been 5 years.
People, you know, I did learn, you know, after it happened, and like you and your family learned, you know, people are good. There's a lot of good people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great people, and then there's a little sliver of those people who just sometimes may say the wrong thing. In the situation with Vegas, you know, it was like and that's okay too.
They're trying to say the wrong thing, or they just accidentally say the wrong thing. Like the person that says, "I know how you feel. My dog died when my son died." Like that was accidental. But
one of the things that rubbed me after Vegas, and I've mentioned to people. Sometimes I feel like when something like this happens, people. I don't know how to say this the right way. I feel like people want to be attached to it.
Yeah.
And after Vegas, I saw a lot of people coming out and doing interviews and saying how, well, they were there 2 nights before, and well, they were there 1 night before, and they were there 5 hours before, and they were there, like, owning it. And I wanted to tell them, like, this isn't a point of pride here.
Yeah.
I'd gladly, we would gladly trade spots with you. Yeah. So don't want to be part of it, because it's not fair to those people who didn't. It's like, I saw people on CNN doing interviews that were there. It's like, what are you doing? And again, that, you know, I won't go.
There's a smidgen of people that, even when my son died, that a very smidgen of people disappeared, and a very smidgen of people wanted to be involved that weren't.
It's a very small.
Very small.
I agree. It's very small, but it's enough to, like, just get your attention. Like, I wonder what that is. Like, I wonder, but you know, I don't want.
Well, you know, not experiencing the full trauma, but seeing, it's honestly, I think I learned that most people, so good, so unbelievably good.
So many people reached out to us. It was awesome. So many people reached out to us, you know, and I saw some artists out there saying, I don't know if I can go back to work. How can I go back? It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, we were on stage when this happened.
Go back to, what are you doing? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you don't think you can go back to work. Go back to work.
What did Jason? I didn't see. Like, did he talk about it? Like, after? I know he did. He seems to be very good at letting people. By the way, I don't follow anything very closely, so I'm just highlights. And first of all, even I love Jason's music. I love him, and I love you guys. Wave friendship, so that's so much in line there. But I also always love anyone that's recorded one of my songs, and I've had a hit with this immediately. So I'm always like a fan, and when I see anybody having a problem with Jason or his wife or something like that, I'm like, well, you obviously don't know them or what you're talking about. So I might see something, but I didn't. He seems to be very good at being quiet while all the noise is going on. He
did after it happened? He went right back out there to the hospital. And he didn't say, hey, I'm going back to he's not like that. He's better than that. Like, he went out there, him and his wife, and visited everyone who's in that hospital, spent time with them.
See, I never heard that.
You know, but that's, to those people, that was everything, you know? And like I said, Jason's the one that, like, snapped us all out of it. Like, let's go we're going on a plane. It's so funny. We went up and did SNL, and we did Won't Back Down. We did a petty thing, and some guys in town saying, text me, well, I heard you guys sound better. I'm like, well, you probably have heard us sound better. I don't know.
Someone said that to you?
Oh yeah, yeah, oh, the sound was a little weird here, and and I've heard you guys sound better. I'm like, well, I'm sure we sounded better. We probably weren't in the greatest
headspace,
but it wasn't about. It wasn't about that. It was about like
getting back
being
on the horse.
Resilient.
Yeah.
And going up there 4 days after this happened and saying, the devil's not going to win here.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is not what we do. This is not what any of us do as a country. It's not what we do. We rise above it, right?
Yeah.
That's what Jason does. Like, that's what I don't even know how much of that trip any of us remember. I mean, it was so foggy and in such a weird time, like, but people, I've heard you guys sound better. Well, I'm sure we do. I mean, snare not sounding right.
Yeah, she seems really
the
petty.
guitars.
Yeah, was the mix not great?
Yeah, it was
like, fire the sound guy because he had a bet.
It was just, but it's so interesting. But Jason,
by the way, I cannot hear you say we played. I won't back down without thinking about Brett getting up the last night of the McGraw tour and playing that song in his underwear, taking the drumsticks.
Another thing that we always talk about.
My brother goes up in his underwear and plays drums too during Jason Aldean's set, which is not, it's not like you're at a bar and you just grab someone's guitar. And it was funny to me because I'll never forget. Jason was like, he kind of just turned around because he goes, "It's still playing, but it doesn't feel just right." He turned around and Brett's back there in his underwear with bunny ears. Yeah. Which is just what you guys have always kind of played that song, right? It's not like always, but for a long time.
We played that back in those days a lot.
Yeah.
And then after the Vegas thing that we just felt, and then Petty had just passed, and we felt like that was a kind of a moment to do that. And but yeah, it was that was a really, one of the, and what was weird is when we went back on the road, we'd canceled the weekend after, obviously.
Yeah.
Went back out the next weekend, and remember like we were in somewhere, Oklahoma maybe, and Miranda came out, just flew in, hung out with us. They flew all our families down to hang out with us, and getting back up there, that was, I'm really proud of Jason because it would have been easy for us and for Jason to say, we're going to cancel the rest of the tour. But what does that do?
I got to tell you, when you just said that about Jason Collin, there is something about the big superstar guy. There's a lot of pressure on those shoulders. People don't
get it. They don't, people are so, especially today, they're so looking for clickbait, looking for something negative. They find that, their positivity is negativity. So they will be looking for things, and the things people say and type, and it's so much of it, some negativity.
McGraw is who I've been around the most, but you and your experience with Jason, I mean, and all the guys, and by the way, it's not every artist. Man, it's a lot. It's a lot because you got a machine running on your back all the time, and it requires you. I don't think, and it's not. I mean, people. It's not.
What's the quarterback syndrome, right?
Everybody wants to be. I'll tell you, I have a huge respect for just right this moment. Russell Wilson, quarterback for the Broncos, or whatever. Yeah. The NFL is the last sport I actually follow closely. Had the worst start to a season you could have.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how can he not just quit? Hey, I'm rich. I got a hot wife. I'm out. Right.
Yeah.
Not only does he not quit, just keeps getting booed. And all of a sudden he turns it around, and that team's 5-5, and they just won last night for the third game in a row. And I'm like, man, those guys have some gravitas in there that we don't really give credit.
No, it's like I said, the superstars, the guys that, a lot of pressure. I mean, Jason's, people that rely on him to take care of him. He's a huge corporation. He's running. Earle does as well as he does. It's easy to, Jason, he's a human. Like, yeah, he's got plenty of things he'd tell you would do differently if he could, go back. But he's done it about as well as you can do it. Like, he's the backbone on that guy. Like, and that's why, like, from day one, like, he knows it. Like, I'll do anything for him.
Never had the freak, and that says it all. Because, by the way, the people that are close to the person with all that see that and say, "Oh yeah, I'd take a bullet for that guy." Probably a bad timing of whatever after the days. But truly, it says a lot about him and about you and about your organization. And I mean, honestly, I'm close enough to see it. It's true. Like, you guys are like a band of brothers and like a gang, and it's the kind of thing that everybody wants. We get tribal, not we. Everybody gets tribal because they need to belong to something, and that's why we can. You can probably keep from getting so tribal about other things, because you have the actual thing that people are looking for, which is this tight-knit band of brothers that have each other's backs.
Yeah, and it's good to know that we've been through so much together, like ups and downs, terrible times, great times, But I don't think we ever let ourselves get too low or too high in anything. We just want to keep moving.
Yeah,
keep doing it, But that's really, with the Vegas stuff, especially, like, to be able to ride that out with those guys.
Yeah. Okay, so I just want to ask you about the song. Mm-hmm. To me, it's funny. It's interesting. I don't hear anything controversial in that song. Try that in a small town.
Oh, they're gonna always find something. They're gonna come at, especially with Jason. Like,
by the way, I am absolutely politically homeless, libertarian guy. I don't want to. I'm not jumping on either side of the thing, but at some point, common sense says these are things that are bad about a big city that we need to improve, and these are things that wouldn't happen in a small town, so we might want to take that on. And it seems very natural to me. I just didn't see the controversy. And by the way, I respect the people that are like, but it's kind of nice to be in the mix, right?
Well, I'm from a town of 400 people in the middle of the mountains,
and you pissed like 180 million people off, which is awesome.
Hey.
I was so proud of you.
Well, I sent a big thank you note to CMT.
Yeah. Because they made the
video. Pull the video, after they added it, they pull it. It's like, okay, well, do you even know what you're...
They didn't mind the content until the...
Yeah. And I in a million years when we wrote that song, I never thought they would rile up like that. I thought maybe in verse 2, we talk about the gun, and I knew maybe some people would have their opinions.
So relating that to Vegas,
relating to Vegas, or just in general, the general climate that we're in, right? And look, there's so many songs I don't like. I just don't listen to it.
It's pretty simple.
If you don't like it, don't listen to it. If you don't want to watch the video, don't watch the video. But what you can't do, or at least in my opinion, you can't tell people you can't. As soon as you tell people they can't,
that's kind of from freedom of speech thing.
That pesky freedom of speech.
Thing
always seems to get them at the end. I guess that's what I don't understand. If you don't like it, look, we released it, we put it out there. Jason, that speaks to our fan base. It speaks to what we believe in. It speaks to our fan base.
And if we can't write about experiences, Bruce Springsteen writes about experiences. Jason Aldean writes about experiences. You and Kurt and Neil Thrasher and Kelly Lovelace wrote about your experiences. Yes. And that's, by the way, we're Southern people, and I just didn't, I don't understand the vial to be, okay, I don't really like that. Turn it off. I thought that the same thing about the Louis C.K., the phone sex girl that was, I'm like, hang up. Like, I never got, like, we are a little too, like, I don't just have to dislike something. I have to, like, tell you. By the way, I do understand someone that doesn't want assault rifles on the street. I get that. I'm not sure what the answer is. I tend to be I have some guns, but I don't have an assault rifle, and I do understand why you wouldn't want them on the street. I don't actually want them on the street either. I probably disagree with my brother on that issue. We could talk, but it's like you said it before. Why is everything so black and white? Like, I don't know the total answers to this. But
I don't know either. It's
when we go to super far to our corners, we are all idiots.
Well, that's where things get dangerous. Like, that's where everybody stops communicating.
Yeah.
And it's never here. It's always somewhere in here. It's always somewhere in the middle. I think as a society, we put ourselves in these corners, you know, and it's,
I've never said this on here, but like, I didn't take the vaccine. I never got a vaccine, and I wouldn't have gotten the vaccine if Donald Trump had been the president. And he did, by the way, push the vaccine through. He's the guy.
Yeah. So
I just wonder of all these people that are so divided, because I'll be honest, man, I lean away, but I'm in the middle. Like I think they're all full of crap, and I understand that. I want tiny government and stay out of my life, mind your own business. You're terrible with money, all of you. If I was like you, I'd be in jail for that. So I don't want to hear from you about, you know, it's raise taxes and debt ceilings. I just want less of all of them. But the truth is, I don't need the vaccine because I'm a healthy person, and I put work into my health, and I did a little research on it, and I'm like. I don't need a vaccine because I don't need a vaccine. It had nothing to do with politics. But all of a sudden, I'm shoved to one side of this thing because we've all decided that a vaccine is either conservative or liberal. And I was like, what the hell is going on here?
People were losing their jobs that didn't have the vaccine. It's like
we have become so tribal that everything goes for everything that we do, and everybody's so completely focused. Single-minded.
As soon as we lose the ability to be able to talk to each other. And just leave it at that.
Yeah,
and
politely disagree.
Let whoever have their opinion and you have your opinion, and then go have beer together.
Yeah.
As soon as we've lost that, then that's when we need to come together again, because we've lost the whole what this country is. Like you're not supposed to agree with each other.
Totally. No one I agree with on everything.
I mean, it's I don't know how it feels like we're just snowballing, right? It's getting worse and worse. I stand by every word of that song. And if you got a problem with it, don't listen to it. Just don't listen to it.
That's going to cost you like 29 cents when they all quit listening to the song on streaming. I just
lost that Snicker bar. That is going to cost me. But look, we're our right to write it. We wrote it. Jason, it spoke to him. He's the only, I'll say this, he's the only guy, when we wrote it, we were writing it for Jason. He's the only guy that would do that. Like I think a lot of artists would like to do that.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Yeah.
But they don't. And he did. And that's why his fan base relates to Jason. He knows how they feel. He relates to it.
Yeah.
And that's why after 20 something years, we're still out there selling out every night. You know,
I don't see Jason freakishly one lopsided. I don't think he alienates the side of people that he may not agree with. I don't want to alienate. I love and respect the people I don't agree with.
That's their right.
I don't see him alienating people that he doesn't agree with, but I see the far reaches of everywhere are always going to reach out and try to crucify that.
Well, you try to cancel. I'll say this. This cancel situation. Come on. I mean, you know, you tried canceling Morgan Wallen.
How'd that work out? Yeah.
That worked out. That
didn't really work very well before he did it.
Radio went from saying we're never playing Morgan to having
4 songs in a row.
Yeah, 4 songs in a row. He's got 5 songs on the charts, you know. Anyway, but you saw some of that with the song. It's like, look, just especially in country music, don't tell people you can't listen to something.
And you lost friends over the song?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean,
that's crazy to me.
Oh, yeah. And look, it is what it is, I guess. If I lost friends over that song, then I guess they weren't friends.
I guess so. I have friends that are on the other side of the aisle on that particular, those kind of issues, and they've written songs about it, and I love them. I don't necessarily love the song. I really think that the angriest person is usually wrong, you know, in any given disagreement. If you're spitting vile and you're really upset and you're going to lose friends over something, I'm like, man, I'm not losing friends over a song. That's really sad.
I will say one of the things that kind of bummed me out was like there were some songwriters in town that were going on record bashing us and Jason. And, you know, I thought for a second, like, this is exactly what the song's talking about. I didn't think we did that here. If you don't like something, don't like it.
Yeah.
That's fine. If it's not good, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So you don't have nothing not to like anyway. Right. So but to go on record and to say negative stuff and people in this town, in this business, I mean, that'll draw the line in the sand, a little bit, like with loyalty. Loyalty's that is the most important thing for what we do, like loyalty,
Hey man, at the end of the day, this is all. It's kind of you ever stand 10 feet back from the music business and go, this is ridiculous. I mean, it's
you don't have to stand 10 feet back.
Exactly. 3.5 feet back in the middle of it. Like, this is like the primping and posing, and you watch the new crew of people come in and like, no, but I'm really cool. Like, no, we were cool before. I remember. Yeah. And to see that, but I say the locker room, but like our crew of people, like I wouldn't come out if I can't imagine someone being, especially knowing what you guys have been through, or in fact, many people don't appreciate that, don't understand. Like, and I'm going to take a guy who's worth the most, and part of the most traumatic thing that can happen outside of death, maybe like losing a child, something that bad.
Yeah.
Part of this thing, and I'm going to, 30 seconds after it happens, I'm going to critique how he handled it when he didn't handle it. He was getting shot at, didn't know what it was drugged away from somewhere.
I gotta be honest with you. There's a side of me that I have a hard time. I'm trying to be a better person. I like to think I'm a good person, and then sometimes I can reflect on myself and be like, I can be much better. And I try to let some of this go. But people that were bashing Jason after that, as far as calling him a coward and it's bullshit, man, that's so dark. And so,
was it anyone in the industry, or was it just it was people, or were there?
I don't think it was. I think people in industry know better. I mean, as far as like the actual situation, but there's quite a few people out there that were, saying really mean things about him now, stuff that was impossible to do. Like it's impossible to do, and I know that it hurt him. He'll never say that, but it was so confusing. Like we had like I said, it's the last thing we thought was going on. But
here's what I find interesting. Anyone that knows you would know that you're capable of writing that song, or I know the other three guys wrote the song, and anyone that's listened to 5 minutes of Jason Aldean would have to know that he's strong, tough, whatever, and was certainly capable of singing this song. I just get how people are so surprised all the time and want to analyze.
But they're going to find something anyway.
I mean, it's when you get you've lost all reason at some point when you actually don't want to have police. It's just that's where you start to I start to veer into you lost your ever loving minds and they can't have a conversation. But I'll be honest, I'm willing to have a conversation with anyone. Someone must do it.
I get conversation's great if you can have a conversation.
But I don't necessarily want to be, because here's the thing is I'll go back and forth across different things, but I literally had a friend in New York, and she was like, why would you have a gun? I'm like, I've never lived in a house without a gun. And that's not, by the way, I'm not a gun guy. I don't hunt. I mean, I used to bird hunt a little bit. I'm not a hunter. My brother is all into it. And I know lots of guys, it's not worth sprinkling deer piss all over myself and sitting in a tree stand for 8 hours. For me. It's just not. But I got a couple guns my dad left me, and I got a gun my nephew gave to me. And
that's what we were saying. It's like, look,
I don't know. I never thought about it being a thing. Like, and if somebody comes in here,
again, it's the all or nothing thing, right? We just talked about it. It's like, you're this or you're that. How do we get to that middle area?
Yeah.
And then, and we're not going to ever get there like this, right? No. So, but it's never all or nothing. That's not how these things work. So
the problem is the people that do that. If a politician tries to be, when I say politician, I hate being on politics, but tries to say something that's common sense that might veer the way of like, okay, let's have a conversation. You're a sellout. And I'm like, oh, can someone just be like,
well, everything's so polarized.
Yeah, it's so polar. We're just
you can
tribal beings.
You can, I mean, especially where we're at these days in social media, it is, you don't have to go very far to find conflict. I had a lot of people. This will blow your mind. It blew my mind. After the song came out, the video came out, there was that span of a couple of weeks where things were, pretty hot. It was contentious and it was all over the news. And I was getting a lot of messages to my Instagram and stuff. And a lot of it, most of it, so positive. But there was 2%.
Messages to you?
What's that?
Messages on
right to me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I there was this one particular guy who would message me at 5:20 in the morning. He'd say something like, "Fucking hate you. Hope you die." Okay. And I never responded. And
well, luckily I have a gun, so I might die soon.
Then he messaged me again later that night and say something like, "Oh, hate your, please die." Okay. Well, then the next morning at 5:20, he messaged me again. Call Aldean some terrible name and his wife some terrible name. And later that night, another one come in, "Fuck you, hope you die." This went on for days. And then he'd send one, he goes, "I wish you would have taken a couple in Vegas." He'd say stuff like that to me. And I'm thinking to myself the whole time, I'm thinking, wow.
That's the peace-loving guy, by the way. Doesn't like guns.
This is the guy who hates hate. Okay, what's his, so now in my brain, I'm thinking opportunity.
Oh, I love this guy.
I'm thinking opportunity now. I'm thinking case study. So I don't respond, and now he's getting mad because I don't respond, and he'll send, and he was messaging Kurt as well, he messaged him too, pig fucker, whatever that means. And then he messaged, again, so every morning, like he opens his eyes, grabs his phone, and
you're on his mind. Messages
me right away. "Hope you die. Have an awful day. You're the worst. And then some were long. I can't believe that someone, and then he would say something, "Tully, what kind of name is Tully anyway? Are your parents that stupid?" And he'd do that. And then he'd be like, and the next one would be like, "Just another stupid Kennedy." I could show you.
He's really put some thought into his hatred for you.
So this goes on for days. And at any rate, he finally says something like, "You're such a coward. You won't respond to me." And we're at 10 days into this, 40 messages deep, profanity, just wants me to die. Because I just wrote the song.
But he wants you to die because he's against violence. And you're for it.
He's against hate, but wants me to die. He wants me to get shot.
You're such a friend of hate that you need to die.
Yes. I need to take a bullet.
Hate sucks.
I hate
so
hate.
Bad.
I'm so... and then he said, "Well, I'm an agent for karma. I'm a Buddhist." And
I don't think Buddhists want people to die.
I'm thinking to myself, this is the angriest Buddhist I've ever met in my life. So
doesn't work. He
says, "You're such a coward. I hate you. Die. Your parents are shit. Bullshit. All this shit." So I'm not kidding you. It was 2 weeks of this. I was on the road. I got my phone after my morning read.
Your little coffee meditation.
Yeah.
By the way, I think you can improve your day already. Stop reading that shit.
So now I figured out my little social experiment is going to come to a head. So I messaged him. I said, "Hey," I said, "I'm sorry you hate me so much." I said, "I don't hate you. I don't even know you." I said, "I don't even know how we can hate each other. You never even met me. Send." I'm sitting there and, and I could see him. I could picture him sitting in his little apartment somewhere or something. It's like, well, that's not what I expected from this racist, violent man. So how could someone so racist and violent send such a... Completely disarmed him. He texts me back and he said something like, "I'm sorry you had to keep seeing these texts, these messages. I just really hate the song." I said, "Man," "I'm sorry you hate the song so much." I said, "You definitely don't have to listen to it." I said, "It was written from a good place. That's what I can tell you." Send. I can see him. Oh, how can I kill this person?
He makes sense again.
With this Neanderthal sending these aren't violent enough. So before you know it, we start talking about music. And we start talking about I was talking about Steve Earle and how I love Steve Earle, and he's talking about, before you know it, we're almost friends. And I messaged him back and said, see?
There's your case study.
There's my case study. And it's like, it's not that we're here and here. It's that we just stop communicating. Because we start communicating through phones and through messages where nothing can be actually talked about. We had we like a lot of same music, a lot of bluegrass music, a lot of stuff. Like, it was a great conversation. And it was left like, I said, if you ever want to come to the show, let me know. I said, I'd love to hang out with you.
That probably blew his mind into bits. I will say this, because I have friends, good friends on either sides of all those issues. And if you sit in front of someone who's, by the way, I like to say my friends are all genuine, so I can sit and have a conversation with them. If I can't, I wouldn't be friends with them. You sit and listen to someone's story and their reason for being where they are. It's hard to just dismiss it. It's hard to just go, yeah, you're stupid, you're wrong, I'm never talking to you again. If you can do that to someone and you've heard their story and you know where they come from, I think that you're probably the one that's...
Well, and me too. Like, so I'm thinking to myself, well, this guy's,
Oh, he's got a story.
He's got a story, and he's going through some stuff. And that's my whole point of doing that was to just see if are we really here and here, or are we just a couple words away from talking it out, right? So it was really, and he was, this guy, these messages, I've still got them. They're intense. They're crude, man. And it's like he went there.
And then after you made friends with him, you're like, yeah, just kidding. I was doing an experiment. F you.
Yeah.
So wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's actually a great thing to finish with, because that is, I honestly think that that's a really important point that we kind of need to, like, everyone's got to lighten up. And and by the way, I can only do it to me. I can't convince you to lighten up. Yeah. I got to start with Brad Light. I'll be honest, man. There was time when I was a little bit further. I'm like, no. I'm just going to be.
It's hard.
I'm going to love everybody and be in the middle of this.
I tell you, society's pulling. It's so polarizing either way that it's hard to find the middle ground. You feel lost in the middle ground.
I think Joe Rogan's the most important figure that we've had. I do, because he's just not. He's just not like everyone else. He isn't tribal in that way. So before we go, thank you. First of all, dude, I love you so much, man. You're my brother from all the way back. It's amazing.
This is good for me. Like, what you're doing, and just so you know, that you're doing great things. Like
appreciate you.
Like your son, I know, is proud.
Good. That's the only reason
it's helping me, helping everybody,
And you are. I know this wasn't easy to talk about. I have a question I ask everyone before we leave, and it's after we've spent 2 hours talking about it, it's probably going to be obvious, but it's a 2-part question. And what is the worst thing that's ever happened to you, and what's the best thing that came out of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the worst thing I've been part of would for sure be the biggest thing on so many levels, because so many lives were lost, and feeling, it's hard to not think about that. Really, I try not to take anything for granted, and I try, and I find myself still I take friendships for granted, like we're always going to be around each other. But I remind myself, I have that to remind myself, like, don't do that. Don't think that's how it's going to be, because everything can change like that, just like that, and you know that better than anybody.
Yeah.
And I try to take that out of it. Like, try to my faith gets me through a lot. That strengthened. There's no way I get out of that. There's no way my friends get out of that. Right. Your God and mortality and whatever, is that part's easier for me now. Is that easier for you now?
Oh, like I get it. I believe it.
Yeah. There's no, that couldn't be stronger, need that. Yeah. It's hard to understand all the moves sometimes.
Sure.
You know,
I trust now. I'm like, there's an explanation for this. You'll know why you guys were the band on stage when that happened.
Yeah.
I'll know why
Yeah.
I had to have the alcoholic gene, why I had to lose a child,
Yeah.
whatever the things are that I'm like, well, I don't want to be self-pity guy. You're so far not self-pity guy.
Yeah.
You probably beat yourself up a little bit.
Yeah, it's probably yeah. I mean, well, look what you're doing here. You know, to the positive and what you're doing from your tragedy, like what you're helping me more than you probably know.
Good.
Or helping my family because I'm talking about it instead of holding on to things because I don't want to appear weak.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a, you know, like I have forgotten about these microphones numerous times during this conversation. So it's I think you're doing more than you know.
I appreciate you. And you know, when I texted you about this, I know you didn't talk about it a lot. I know who you are. It's not, and you were, I mean, it was like 2 seconds and you're like 1,000%.
No,
I was like,
it's you. It's like that was easy. I think that's one thing I know I've done right is I haven't talked about this because it didn't feel right. Yeah, I think to like really do it, like you need to do it like there's nothing on the line, right? So it was time.
well, I mean, you were honest and I appreciate it. It's a lot. I tell you this, I think it's, I say fascinating. It makes it sound like the event was some positive thing. I don't want to say, but it's a fascinating thing. And I want to hear from you because I want to know what would I do in that position. But I love you saying you have no idea what you're going to do when something happens. It humbles you. It humbles you probably beyond something. If you hadn't experienced it, and I don't mean humility's not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that you think Tully's a bad guy. It means that because you're not a bad. You are. You said a minute ago. I know you from way back. You're a great guy. You're the best. You're loyal. All the things I want in friends. But when something like this happens, it humbles you into thinking, man, I just don't have as much control as I thought. And it makes me put God at least where he sits at the top. And then everything else we can find out here.
Well, that's the thing. Like God's gonna make those moves.
Right.
And you got to be okay with that. Because a life without God, how lonely is that?
That's hell. That's hell.
There it is. So there is no gray area for me there. Like, and if I hadn't walked out of Vegas, then that's how it was supposed to be. But it wasn't. So figure it out. That's what he's telling me. Like figure it out. You know, getting that text from you was funny. It's funny because I thought I don't know why I thought this, but I thought maybe you would have texted about. I knew this was coming. I'll say that.
It was kind of coming.
I knew this was coming. I knew this was coming. That's the best way I can say it. Like I remember I told my wife, I'm like, I hope he's not afraid to ask me because he's the one guy. I was never gonna text you and say, hey, I'm not like that. I'm not gonna. But I
didn't want you to say yes just because it was me. I wanted you to be ready.
No, it's because it was you.
There was no getting ready.
No.
All right. Well, when I waited, you know what's funny? Yeah. I really did. I was like, man, Sheryl Crow's on here last week. I'm calling Tully. He's. You know what I mean?
Don't have Sheryl Crow about me. She does not like me.
You know what's funny?
She hates that song.
She hates that song, but she would love you. She's one of the greatest people I know.
I know.
And you're one of the greatest people I know. You're just on different sides of something. Now, here's the thing. You know what's funny? I just until I felt it like okay, this is it. And in fact we were sitting in that room right there, and I had been talking about doing this, and Matt mentioned it, and I said, yeah, I'm gonna text Tully right now.
Yeah,
I've been talking about it for months, thinking about it for a year.
Well, the fact that I hit you right back, like there wasn't really any thinking. It was like, okay, this is God telling me it's time to unload a little bit of this, and really it was way overdue. Like all of us, like all of it in the band, Jason included, like we never talk about it.
Yeah,
I think it's how we deal with stuff. It's maybe a little old school. People have to go the rest of their lives living through this, finding ways through this like you and your wife, like
Yeah.
figuring out how to be strong for each other, how to be strong for your children, and knowing that Sage wants you to be strong.
Yeah. Yeah.
But everyone else can move on. But it's hard. You can't. You don't. But that's the reality of it.
And the 3 weeks when the casseroles stop, the people that continue to show up, man, those people are.
Yep.
They're a blessing. You're one of
Yep.
them, and man, I just feel I'm blessed to have you as a friend. And I love you, man. Appreciate
Love you too, buddy.
Thanks for everything.
Love you, dude. The best.